Brought to you by Lean Body, the #1 protein shake in gyms across America.
This is about the only time you're going to see me using a 5-pound dumbbell. But what I'm about to show you could save your shoulder joints. So there's a small group of muscles called the rotator cuff that helps to keep the upper arm bone, the humerus, in its socket, right? And this is a muscle that undergoes a lot of stress, especially when we're doing pressing movements. So one of the things that I do prior to doing my chest and shoulder workout is to do an exercise for rotator cuff. Gene, come over here and tell me if I'm doing this right. So basically what I'm doing is I'm pointing my elbow straight out, right, in line with my shoulder, pointing my elbow at the wall, or in this case at Gene here, and then I'm basically just doing a 90-degree rotation. What it does is it gets blood into that rotator cuff.
So of the rotator cuffs, you have 4 small muscles. 3 of the muscles are responsible for external rotation, which is what he's doing right now. And the opposite muscle would be carrying the dumbbell the opposite way, which you would probably be better off doing that
like,
from
with a band?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, we happen to have one right here.
Perfect.
So let's do that.
As I said earlier about the rotator cuff muscles, you have 4 real small muscles. The one he is primarily working right now is the subscapularis, which is responsible for about 80% of internal rotation.
And these are all muscles that are stressed whenever we do pressing movements.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's important to get blood into those.
It is, and I also think it's important to do these exercises on a regular basis because they directly strengthen the shoulder joint or the rotator cuff muscles.
Okay.
Giving you better stabilization, which will ultimately translate to better and safer lifts.
Right. Now, you're a personal trainer and you have a lot of competitive athletes. Do you have them do these type of rotator movements before they do their push day, the chest and the shoulder? Or when do you have them do them?
Absolutely, yeah. Usually on any type of a push day,
okay.
I'll have them come into the gym a few minutes before our session.
Right.
And they'll just do some light movements or some band work for the rotator cuffs.
Good.
Anything upper body is going to involve the rotator cuff, so I think it's one of those things you can train multiple times a week to essentially bulletproof the shoulders.
So talking about bulletproofing the shoulders, I'm going to digress just a little bit. I'm going to ask you about bench presses because they're notorious for people getting injured on them. Absolutely. And if it's not the pec tear, we talked about that earlier, the potential for a pec tear if you don't do them carefully, but there's also the potential for really messing up your rotator cuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's one of the most common culprits, in terms of rotator cuff injuries.
Absolutely.
Right? So let me ask you this, in terms of your external, your internal rotators that we just discussed, what is at most risk when we're doing a bench press?
It depends at which point in the movement, at what range, whether it be the stretched position or starting range,
right,
or end range or full flex. The barbell bench press has gotten that name as the destroyer of rotator cuffs.
Yeah, it has, right?
Just because of the impingement it creates, particularly as we develop more muscle. If you're not doing things to strengthen, and to develop range of motion in terms like flexibility.
Yeah, because a lot of guys will develop these huge pecs because they go in there and they do a lot of presses and flies and stuff, right? So they start getting a little bit of imbalance.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, you'll see a lot of people in that end range. You'll see the shoulders kind of come up and the wrists kind of dip forward.
Yeah,
and that's creating that perfect storm.
Okay, so basically when they come down this number,
yes,
that's a mistake,
and it creates a lot of impingement. And that rotator cuff, one of the external rotators, literally gets pinched back there and between the AC joint, the acroclavicular joint, and that's when a lot of times that rotator cuff will just pop.
Wow. Okay, so that's something that we need to watch out, guys. Whenever you're doing your pressing movements, be careful. Make sure that you warm up and that you do your internal and external rotation warm-up sets.